and welcome to episode 22 of the Knitty Heather podcast. My name is Heather and I'm coming to you from Kent, Washington, where I live with my husband Tom and our Cavalier King Charles Spaniel Pepper. This is my podcast where I love to chat all about my knitting and everything I learn along the way. I always love to feature and tell everybody about new designers and wonderful yarn dyers and makers of any yarny accessories as well. I'm a huge supporter of anyone in the fiber community. If you are a new viewer, thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you enjoy yourself. And if you are a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. I really, truly appreciate it. If you would like to follow me, I am at Knitty Heather on Instagram, and I always love making connections with people there. All of the yarn and patterns and accessories I talk about will be listed and linked in the description box below. Today is Friday, April 16th, 2021, and I have a lot to tell you about, so let's get started. Today I am wearing my Between Bark and Trees cowl. This is a pattern by Gabrielle Venzina. The yarn I used was Shell Ridged Yarns Windermere Bulky in the colorway Iris. This was a very quick knit. You use size US 10.5 needles. It is a basic cable pattern and it really shows off the pretty tonality of this yarn. I haven't knit with a lot of bulky yarn, but this was an absolute pleasure to work on. I believe I did this kind of over the Christmas break in 2018. This or any other cowl or hat knit up in a bulky weight yarn make excellent gifts because they knit up so quickly. I could have done fewer pattern repeats and stopped so it was a little shorter, but I wanted to use up all of my yarn and I'm happy with the length that it turned out. You work it flat and then I just closed it up with a whip stitch to make a loop. I really love working pretty cable patterns and it does almost remind you of the lines of the bark in a tree. This was the Between Bark and Trees cowl by Gabrielle Venzina, knit up in Shell Ridge Yarns Windermere Bulky. Today I am also wearing a pair of vanilla socks using the Toe Up Gusset sock pattern by Stacey Perry of Very Pink Knits. I knit these back in 2019 and it was the first time knitting this pattern, which has a very interesting construction. If you enjoy knitting socks toe up, but also like the extra room a heel flap and gusset provide, this would be an excellent pattern for you to try. The yarn I used was Premier Yarns. I purchased it at Joann's in the colorway Borealis. They were knit from the toe up with gusset increases, then a heel turn, and finally a heel flap before I finished the leg, and about 15 rounds of a 2x2 rib for the cuff. Now I would love to tell you about some recent acquisitions. First, last episode I talked about going to a trunk show by Nancy of Trilogy Yarns and I showed a couple skeins that I purchased to make a cowl, but I completely forgot because I had already stored it away that I purchased a skein of her fingering weight yarn as well. This is her 80/20 Glamorous base and the colorway is called Llamas in Drag. How fun is this? I mean, so many beautiful colors. She had a sample sock knit up in this colorway and I absolutely had to pick this skein up to make a pair of socks for myself one day. This is Trilogy Yarns Llamas in Drag, one of her newer colorways, I believe. Now, I haven't podcasted in a couple weeks because my husband and I were on a road trip to Wyoming, which meant, of course, that I got to check out a couple local yarn stores in the area. So throughout these next couple episodes, I'd love to tell you about the yarn stores and my purchases from them. The first that I'll tell you about this week is from You Count in Cheyenne. That is where we stayed. And it's owned by a lovely lady named Penny. She was super nice. I got to meet her and her store had all kinds of beautiful yarn and it really had a nice stock of needlepoint and cross stitch projects as well if you are interested in any of that kind of thing. It was in this cute little house. And what I purchased from her first that I'm most excited about is this skein of Mountain Meadow wool. This is their Saratoga base. It is from the Pheasant Ranch in Casey, Wyoming, and it's 100% Mountain Merino Cormo. This was her very special 25th anniversary colorway, and she had a pattern for a cowl that is knit up in this, the You Count 25th Anniversary Cowl. So I am looking forward to casting on the 25th Anniversary Cowl in this Mountain Meadow wool to celebrate You Count's 25th anniversary. That is so awesome. And so I picked up this skein to make that cowl someday. I also found this skein from the Fiber Seed. This is their 90% superwash merino, 10% nylon base, and it's the colorway Festival of Lights. Just a lot of really pretty colors over kind of a gray wash. I thought these would knit up into a beautiful pair of socks. This is the Fiber Seed. And then I also saw that she had some Sweet Georgia yarn, and I'd heard all about Sweet Georgia from lots and lots of other podcasters, but I had never had a chance to actually pick up a skein, and this is the Tough Love sock in the colorway Rainbow Sprinkles. Another one with some really pretty tones. I think I will make some socks out of this too, but honestly, now that I look at these two a little more, they might go really well together in some kind of shawl. We'll see. We'll see what I decide to do. But for now, they will live happily in my stash. I was very thrilled to be able to support the local yarn store there in Cheyenne, Wyoming called You Count. If you are ever in the area, please check it out. It is a wonderful, adorable little yarn shop. On to my finished objects. I have quite a few to tell you about this week since I've been off for a couple weeks and I got a lot of car knitting done. The first I'd like to tell you about is my pair of Desert Vista Dye Work socks for the month of March. This was in the Speckled Jelly Beans colorway. I did these 2 at a time, toe up. I used a pink mini from one of her mini sets last year. I did a wedge toe, knit up the foot, marked for an afterthought heel, which I also did in that pink mini, and then continued up the leg. I did, I think, 12 rounds of a 2x2 rib in that pink mini, and then went back and actually knit my afterthought heel. I love that these are very happy and springy. They fit beautifully, and I'm thrilled to have a pair of socks where the stripes are completely speckled. I don't know how she did that, but it's absolutely gorgeous. I love these so much. These are on my Harry Potter sock blockers from A Needle Runs Through It on Etsy. And because I finished this pair, I finished my first quarter of the 7th annual Desert Vista Dye Works Sock Club. This is a pair of vanilla socks knit up in Desert Vista Dye Works 7525 VSO base in the colorway Speckled Jelly Beans. My next finished object are my February Yarnable socks. This is in the colorway Cherry Cordial. I did these 1 at a time, cuff down. I did 20 rounds of a 2x2 rib. Worked down the leg. I did a German short row, kind of following the directions by Mina Phillip, the knitting expat. Worked down the foot and did a rounded toe. These colors are so beautiful and they knit up so perfectly. Here they are again. I really love all the different pink and red tones and how she got them to just perfectly variegate. So pretty. These really are perfect for Valentine's Day, but I'll still wear them all year around. I'm glad to finally have these off the needles. With some of my other sock projects and with me going back to school, I haven't had as much knitting time, but I am trying to still knit with my Yarnable box. The March colorway is very beautiful. Stay tuned for what I'm doing with that next week. These are vanilla socks. They have a German short row heel and they are knit up in the colorway Cherry Cordial by Hypnotic Yarn from her February Yarnable box. Next, I would like to tell you about my London socks. I am participating in Mina Phillip's Knit Along with her new sock club, Around the World in 8 Socks. This was the first month, inspired by the city of London. I did 20 rounds of a 2x2 rib. There's kind of a really cool geometric knit and purl pattern down the front. I did only do the pattern across the front of the sock with this pair. I did a German short row heel garter style where I just knit all the stitches instead of purling on the wrong side. Continued down the foot and did the toe that she recommends in the pattern. The yarn I used for this was from Lolo Did It's Downton Abbey Upstairs and Downstairs Club. The mini is called Jilted and the purple is called Left at the Altar. Beautiful little sock set. I thought they worked very perfectly with this pattern. Mina Phillip, the Knitting Expat, her patterns are so wonderful. She gives you the option to do them cuff down or toe up. I did these cuff down. And she also gives you some really great instructions for a German short row heel, but you could put in whatever heel that you desire. I think this was such a creative pattern. So beautiful, and this yarn knit up absolutely gorgeous with all the different color speckles. Really happy with how these turned out. These were my London socks by Mina Phillip from her Around the World in 8 Socks Club. Knit up in Lolo Did It, Jilted and Left at the Altar. My last pair of socks I have to show you are my winter rainbow socks. I promised last time that these would be an FO this podcast, and they indeed are. This is a pattern by Kay Litton, the Crazy Sock Lady. And I used Desert Vista Dye Works, her Winter Rainbow sock set that has two 50-gram half skeins, this gray color and then a self-striping with different tones of rainbow colors. It's a really cool slip stitch pattern across the front, and then you just stripe it down the back of the sock. Heel flap and gusset. And a rounded toe. I am so happy with how these turned out, and I did cast on my Spring Rainbow Connection socks. Stay tuned for that in my whips section. But here they are done. My first of 4 Rainbow Connection socks that I'm hoping to finish throughout the year. I bought the sock set for every season from Susan of Desert Vista Dye Works, and so now I'm working on the spring ones, and hopefully I will be able to do one quarterly with each of her seasonal colorways. I did 16 rounds of a 2x2 rib with the contrasting color, and then I incorporated the self-striping. You do the heel and toe with the contrasting solid color as well. This is also a great pattern if you had some minis that you wanted to use up for the self-striping part. That would look really good too. This is the Rainbow Connection Socks by Kay Litton, knit up in Desert Vista Dye Works Winter Rainbow Sock Set. Next up is another pattern by Kay Litton, the Crazy Sock Lady. This is her Round and Round cowl. I finally finished it. It is blocked in all its beauty and glory. I used Hugh Loco's Fade Advent for each stripe. This is a perfect pattern to use a mini set or a whole advent. She gives you guidance in the pattern as far as how many repeats, how many rounds to do of each color, depending on how many colors you use. This was a really fun, it's only a 2-row repeat, and then you do some special ribbing for the cuff on either end. But look at how beautifully all of these colors faded. I am so thrilled with how these came together. I did these completely in order, starting with color 1 down to color 24. And I have quite a bit left of each of these colors, so I'm trying to decide what to do with it. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think I should do with the leftovers of this Fade Advent set? I kind of want to do another cowl, but if I already have the cowl with these colors, I might want to do something else too. So let me know what you think. What would you do if you had leftovers of each of these colors? I'd love to have some suggestions. But here it is, my Round and Round cowl. Very happy to have this as a finished object, and I think it turned out absolutely beautifully. This is the Round and Round cowl by Kay Litton, knit up in Hugh Loco's Fade Advent from Christmas 2020. My last finished object is my Moss Landing hat. This is a pattern by ChiaoGoo of Makers Mercantile, and it was their February pattern from their Hat of the Month Club. The yarn they sent to make this was Citron La Vie, and it's colors number 3 and 4, kind of this teal and bright green. It was a really fun textured stitch pattern with just some knits and purls. And I blocked it on a dinner plate so that it would really make the stitches even out and look nice. The picture kind of shows it fitting more like a beret on the model, but on me, I have a rather large head. It's kind of just more of a slouchy beanie. I'll insert a picture right here to show you what it looks like on me. I think I am going to keep this hat for myself just because I don't have very many hats. And it's very comfortable, a very soft, nice yarn. It's an interesting base. It is 30% extra fine merino, 30% silk, and 40% tencel. It made for a very, very nice hat. And I'm looking forward to wearing it. It's a kind of hat that you could just throw on your head, even in the spring and summer months, just to kind of keep your hair in place. This is the Moss Landing Hat by ChiaoGoo of Makers Mercantile, knit up in Citron La Vie. Now on to my works in progress. First, I'd like to tell you about my April Desert Vista Dyework socks. Here they are. This colorway is called Earth Day. Here it is in the cake. And I am using a green mini from one of her sets from last year. I did the toes out of the mini. I have a little bit more to knit up the foot, and then I will mark for an afterthought heel, which I will also do with this mini. But then I think I will just continue knitting up for the cuff. What I'm doing is a simple 3x1 rib inspired by the Simple Rib Socks by Kate Atherley. And so I'm doing it across the top of the foot now, but I'll do it around the whole leg once I get to the leg. And then I think I'll just continue the ribbing and then stop when I feel like it's long enough. So I don't know that I will use the mini for the cuff on this pair of socks, which is fine. I like switching things up. So I'm almost done with the foot. I do like how this simple rib is looking. It just gives it a little bit more dimension, a little more texture. This cactus Progress Keeper is part of Desert Vista Dyeworks logo that I got as part of her prize package from completing the 6th annual Desert Vista Dyeworks monthly sock club. So I think I'm going to try to finish through this current green section that I'm on, and then hopefully be able to put in the heel right between these two tealy stripes. I think that will make this heel pop a little bit better than if I tried to put it in the middle of the green. I think I can work up to the next teal section and that will be just fine. I really love this colorway. I thought Earth Day would be an appropriate colorway for the month of April, as it is next week. And I love how these are knitting up so far. This is the first time I've ever done a rib sock like this. And I don't think it will be my last. I think these should be a really nice fitting and just kind of a very pretty, little more than vanilla sock pattern that should fit very nicely, that I will enjoy. This is a simple rib sock by Kate Atherley, knit up in Desert Vista Dyeworks Earth Day colorway. Next, on to my Cozy Knitter Yarn of the Month Club. This is from her February Yarn of the Month Club. This is another pair of socks that has been on the needles for a while, but I do try to work on it when I can. This colorway is called Let's Calibrate, and again, it was her February Yarn of the Month colorway. Kind of a really beautiful gray gradient. And instead of sending one 30-gram mini like she usually does, in this case, she sent 3 10-gram minis. So I have used, this is my first sock still, but I have used the red for the toe, and I just recently finished the Fish Lips Kiss Heel with the blue colorway. I will continue knitting up the leg, and then I will do the cuff in my green colorway. I think that will look nice. I'm using my ChiaoGoo 9-inch circulars on these, just for something a little different. My lady Progress Keeper is from Fangirl Fibers. And this will be a very different, very pretty colorway for me. I really love having the pops of color for the heels, toes, and cuffs. And these grays are really pretty too. I love how they're still striping. So I will continue up the leg, and then will probably do a 2x2 rib in the green mini for the cuff. And then I will try to cast on sock number 2 as quickly as I can. I love how this is turning out. If you are a Yarn of the Month member from her, let me know in the comments below, what did you do with your different minis? Did you use different colors for your heels, toes, and cuffs? Did you incorporate them into the foot or leg? I'd be interested to know people's suggestions for a sock set like this with 3 10-gram minis and what people have done with this actual sock set. This is a vanilla sock knit up in the colorway Let's Calibrate by the Cozy Knitter. Next, I'd like to tell you about my newest pair of socks from Mina Phillip, the Knitting Expat, and her newest sock club, Around the World in 8 Socks. This last month in April, she released a pattern that was inspired by Paris. These are my Paris socks. My Progress Keeper is a mermaid tail from Bump on a Hill. And I am at the toe. I have finished knitting down the leg and the foot. And so all I need to do later this afternoon is finish up the toe, and sock number 1 will be done. I did 20 rounds of a special ribbing that she calls for the cuff that leads right into her beautiful stitch pattern, kind of this beautiful floral stitch pattern. It is so beautiful. It is not nearly as complicated as it looks, but I think it really has a lot of bang for your buck with this beautiful floral stitch pattern. The yarn I am using is another sock set from Lolo Did It. It is the March colorway from her Downton Abbey Upstairs and Downstairs Club, and this main color is called Trophy Rose. And this green contrasting mini is called Garden Show. One of my very favorite episodes and one of the best moments between Granny Violet and Isabel in Downton Abbey is at the garden show and their little interactions with each other. The look on Violet's face at the end is just priceless. I love Maggie Smith. She was just fantastic in that show. Anyway, I originally was going to use a different yarn for this, but when I received this latest colorway in the mail and when I got the pattern, I said, oh no, this has to be these socks. She calls this stitch pattern Paris in Bloom. So of course I had to do a flower related colorway, and I think this is knitting up. I didn't want anything too variegated, so something a little bit more tonal really helps these flowers to stand out. I did a German short row heel, just normally with knits on the right side and purls on the wrong side. And all I have left to do, as I said, is to follow her instructions for the toe, and I will use the green color for the toe as well. This is another pattern where she gives you instructions for cuff down and toe up. I am doing these cuff down. And I also did the pattern around the whole leg. If you wanted to just do it across the front, you certainly could do that. Now I did it across the foot, and then of course just some plain stockinette, which look how pretty that colorway is knitting up in stockinette as well. Very, very lovely. She has written and charted instructions. In this case, it was easier for me to follow the chart, which I intend to do for sock number 2 as well. One more look at it. This is the Paris sock by Mina Phillip, the Knitting Expat, knit up in Garden Show and Trophy Rose by Lolo Did It. Now on to my spring Rainbow Connection socks. I was able to cast these on April 1st, and so I'm hoping to finish these this quarter. Hoping to have them done by the end of June. I don't have a whole lot of progress on this yet, but I did do 16 rounds for the cuff, and I've gotten just a little bit started with the leg. As you can see, the pattern's starting to emerge with the light pink and the orange. Here are the colorways in the cakes. This is the self-striping, and the solid is just kind of this pretty cream color. Definitely some more pastel tones with this bright yellow in the self-striping for the springtime. I think these are going to go together really nicely. I do need to keep working on these. This Rainbow Cupcakes Progress Keeper is from Bluebird Miniatures on Etsy. And I'm continuing to have so much fun with this pattern. This is my second of 4 socks in this pattern that I'm hoping to knit this year. 1 for every quarter. And I just got started, but I am enjoying. Now I should be able to kind of fly down the leg now that I've got the 2 yarns established with each other. And I look forward to hopefully being able to show you more progress on this next week. This is my Spring Rainbow Connection Socks by Kay Litton, knit up in Desert Vista Dye Works Spring Rainbow Sock Set. Last but not least, I'd love to tell you about my new cowl cast on. I have it in my dog project bag from Ryan's Marketplace on Etsy. And when I placed an order with Jennifer of Bump on a Hill last time, she included this cute little paw progress keeper that I'm using as a zipper pull. I thought that worked perfectly with this dog bag. This is an excellent size for a cowl. This is the Channeled Color Brioche Loop by Marcy New, who owns the New Knittery here in Renton, Washington. It is just a very simple 2-color brioche cowl. If you're not familiar with 2-color brioche, it is reversible. So there's a chain of the green stitches on this side and a chain of the contrasting color stitches on the opposite side. The yarn I'm using is Ella Rae Cashmerino Sport in the colorway Sycamore. This kind of really pretty springtime green color. And the contrasting color is Shopple Edition 3 in the colorway English Garden. So I thought these two went really well together. I did purchase these at the New Knittery a few months ago. And I was really wanting to cast on a brioche cowl. I had a couple patterns in mind and I decided that I wanted to cast this one on. I don't have a whole lot of progress yet, but you can start seeing the colors work together. I started with the main color for the cuff and then incorporated the contrasting color. I was a little nervous about getting back into brioche. It had been a while since I've done it, but it was kind of like riding a bike. I got right back into it. It's kind of muscle memory once you get going with it. It is a little bit a different type of knitting, but super fun, super popular. Really love how these colors are going together. So I have them on a 24-inch. These are my Knitter's Pride Dreams. And I kind of plan to just knit until it's long enough or I run out of yarn, with of course leaving enough to do the top cuff in my main green color. I really am loving how this is turning out so far. This is an excellent pattern to try brioche if you ever wanted to try brioche. I actually think brioche is a little bit easier, especially 2-color brioche, is a little bit easier in the round than it is worked flat like in a scarf. So definitely a good pattern to try brioche if you are ever interested in doing that. This is a very enjoyable knit, and 2-color brioche really is not as complicated as it might look. It's really, once you get the pattern established, it's really just a 2-round repeat. So I do think it is a little bit easier in the round. My stitch marker that I'm using to mark the beginning of the round is a little flower by Bump on a Hill, and I'm using a little Easter Bunny Progress Keeper from Simply Serving. This is the Channeled Colors Brioche Loop by Marcy New, knit in Ella Ray Cashmerino and Shopple Edition 3. The last thing I wanted to talk about today is my 100 YouTube subscriber giveaway. I put together a little set of these two skeins from Zen Yarn Garden, along with a cute chair sock bag from Kitsch is the New Black on Etsy. The winner of this giveaway is Sandy Donaldson. So Sandy, please email me knittyheather@outlook.com with your shipping info, and I will be happy to get this sent out to you as soon as possible. Thank you so much to everyone who commented on that video for the giveaway. I will definitely be doing more in the future, and I really appreciate everyone watching. Well, I think that is about all I have for you today. Thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with me. I really appreciate it. Please hit that like button and consider subscribing if you have not already. And as always, please comment below if there's anything you would like me to talk about or anything you would like to see on this podcast. You can leave me a comment below or message me on Instagram. I am at knittyheather on Instagram, and I would love to hear from you. But until next time, be well, be kind, and happy knitting. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.